So in Knapp's relational stages, this is showing how a relationship comes together and then how a relationship falls apart. And we're just going to talk through the stages of that type of relationship. So the first stage is simply initiating. This is saying, hi, how are you? I'm good. It's a very simple stage. It may only last a few seconds or a few minutes, but if you don't have that initiating stage, nothing else is going to develop in that relationship. Then you move to what's called the experimenting stage. This is where we start asking small talk questions. Nothing too heavy, just, where do you work? Where did you grow up? How many people are in your family? What kind of movies do you like? Things like that. This can actually last for quite a while. Months, years. I mean, it really can be a long stage in developing a really good relationship. And then you come to the intensifying stage. And so this is where we're actually getting into truly an interpersonal relationship with someone. You sort of experiment until you're able to predict their behavior, their psychological and their personal level, and then you can be committed to being in that interpersonal relationship. Integrating is when you are really seen as a couple with that person. So people start to think of you as we. If you come to a party by yourself, they're like, well, where is the other person? They just assume that you two are together. It doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic relationship. So this could be a work relationship where you're just on a lot of projects with this person, or you see this person all the time. And that can also be a stage of integrating. So you're doing things together instead of individually, and people just expect to see the two of you together. Then you get to the bonding stage. And the bonding stage is really this public commitment. For a romantic couple, it might be a marriage, for example, where you're really telling everyone, yes, we're together and we're committed in this relationship. Now, some relationships stop right there and they end up being, happily ever after. But not all relationships, as we know, will end there. Some will fall apart. So the next stages is really the relational dissolution of a relationship. So Knapp now is taking us as a relationship falls apart. So we start with what's called differentiating. We start to notice things about each other that sort of bother us. My husband leaves the toilet seat up. My coworker was supposed to record something in a ledger and they didn't do it. So these little things start coming up and they just keep adding to each other until we are really irritated with each other. Circumscribing and stagnating are kind of similar. So circumscribing is where really conflict and arguing becomes pretty apparent. No one else in the circumscribing stage knows that anything's really happening. When you get to the stagnating stage, that's when publicly people are aware that something is not going well in this relationship. So a lot of arguing, and you really kind of come to a standstill. Then you move into avoiding, and avoiding is just that. You avoid each other. So you're no longer looking at each other, you're no longer talking. If it's a work situation, maybe you're avoiding each other in the hallway, avoiding each other during lunch or during breaks. You're just completely avoiding each other. And then you get to the terminating stage, which is where you officially agree that the relationship is over. It might be a divorce if it's more of a formal relationship. It might just be a breakup. If it's a business partner, maybe the business gets dissolved. Okay, so this is where the relationship is over. So these are the stages that Knapp has created to bring a relationship together, and then also to look at it in a dissolution when the relationship falls apart. So think about relationships that you've been in, ones that you're still in that are good, and ones that have fallen apart, and see if these stages sort of make sense to your real life examples.